All systems go.
All right. Hello, we are live.
Yay!
Hi, everyone. And this is Jenny. Jenny has decided to join us.
Jenny loves romance. She prefers them very high on the Steam scale.
Yeah,
And
Jenny's above me on the Steam scale.
Someone make that cat noise that she doesn't tend to hate about you. Oh.
That's because Jenny was spayed while she's in heat, and so now she needs very high-level romance to feel alive.
Well, on that very wonderful, charming
How to the internet,
note,
Jenny?
Jenny is uninterested.
Jenny's stealing the show.
This isn't just a cat roundtable, as much as I wish it were.
Could be still. It's not too late.
It's not too late, but in celebration of Bookstore Romance Day, which is officially on Saturday, August 15th, we decided in our infinite wisdom to sort of, turn it into a Bookstore Romance month. So, we've had a whole bunch of events that we've already done. Amanda forgot the question. Oh, no, she's letting Jenny.
Stand by. Jenny is taking advantage.
She started chewing on cords.
Oh, no, that's not good.
Extremely expectedly. This is her favorite desk, by the way.
Amazing.
And she's trying to leave.
Great. I'm
over this.
Go with God, Jenny.
This panel no longer is. It was.
So we are here to basically just have like a little happy hour with us. Talking about romance, talking about books that we've read recently that we've really loved, maybe asking some digging in deep into our romance loves, and having a nice little beverage on this Thursday evening.
Cheers, ladies. Happy Bookstore Romance Day.
Cheers. And everyone who is watching, thank you so much for joining us from home. If you want to drop any questions that you have in the comments, or requests for recommendations, or sharing your own thoughts, please do so. Drop them in the comments below or to the side, depending on which app you're on, and we will do our best to answer. We'll also be making a list of all of the books that we talk about for you to purchase and peruse.
Should we all say our names and also what we're drinking?
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'm Rebecca, and I am drinking peach Snapple.
Ooh. I wish I haven't had peach Snapple in a while. I love peach Snapple.
That's good.
Yeah. Lilia, what's your name?
My name is El Sador, my name is Lilia, and I am drinking the Ponga Sauvignon Blanc from One More Page Books.
Ooh.
Now available for curbside pickup.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not for Sarah Kramer, who's watching, because she lives too far away.
Listen, if she drove here, I would certainly give her a Ponga.
I would load your car up with Ponga. It'd be great. And I'm Amanda, and I'm drinking a daiquiri with Cuban rum that I brought back from when we were allowed to travel.
You need. Are we good?
Did you briefly froze?
Oh no, we froze.
Are we back?
Okay. Yes, we're back. I can see you.
Great.
I can see you too.
So what I was saying is that, Amanda, you are in possession of all of the questions. So I think that you should probably be the one to ask, because I don't remember what they are.
I did email them to everyone. This is not entirely on me. I did my part.
Oh, Amanda, I can't look at email and also look at myself on a StreamYard stream at the same time.
That's true. I shall do the questions.
I can do one question. I wrote it down. The others I only wrote partial, so you can't really tell what it says. It looks like a serial killer wrote it.
But like a fun serial killer.
Yeah, one who loves romance.
Yeah, which if I had to pick one. So I think we should just start off by talking about sort of what got us into romance. Speeds, you're at the top of my screen. Why don't you start us off?
Yeah, so I think I am a relatively latecomer to romance. I spent a lot of my youth, when I think so many people's origin stories is they found their grandma's romance collection. But I came to it rather late. I remember reading The Secret History of the Pink Carnation by Lauren Willig, probably when I was 15, maybe. But it was being marketed as fiction. It was being marketed as chick lit in that early to mid 2000s wave of chick lit. I know, right?
A great time for it.
And then I didn't really read anything that could really be classified as when I read A Rogue by Any Other Name by Sarah McLean and loved it. And I read it in like 2 nights. And then I was like, well, this is me now. This is my life.
This is my forever.
This is my forever. So yeah. So it's sort of a multi-tiered process to get me into romance.
Step by step.
Yeah.
I was younger than that. It was pretty standard. We were flying somewhere for the summer. I think we were probably flying to Kansas, and my best friend's mom would read romance novels and then would just hand them off to us and be like, oh, here you go, just skip the sex scenes, whatever, And I was like, okay. And I was like, oh, what is happening? So yeah, that was how I got most of my sex education as someone who went to Catholic school until 6th grade. So
Sure.
yeah, and I think the first one I remember reading and being like, whoa, was Josie Litton, Fountain of Secrets. Yeah, there was definitely
that sounds
a
old.
cave. It was maybe ancient. It could I couldn't tell you if it was fantasy or just historical, honestly, but it was enthralling.
Ooh, delightful. And I had kind of a hop, skip, and a jump roundabout way to get into romance, because I think of myself as being a very late comer to romance. Really, Speeds got me into my modern romance reading, but I was a huge Meg Rabbit fan as a kid. Still am. I absolutely adore her. She's our Bookstore Romance Day ambassador this year, and she has done so much for both YA and for adult romance, and I adore her as both a person and a writer. And so I had read all the Princess Diaries books, all of her YA contemporary. This was 2005, 2006, I guess. And I just devoured everything of hers. And I saw that she was coming to the Barnes & Noble near me in Miami for a book signing for her new book. And I was like, oh my God, it's Meg Rabbit. I think I'd been to one book signing before. Phyllis Reynolds Naylor, which is where I learned about sex, was from the Alice books, which are very good for teens and middle schoolers. Much more informative than some of the romance novels, I think.
And those are, so I'm sorry to interrupt, but those are different than the Go Ask Alice.
Different, very different.
The anonymous, teen Lifetime drama.
Super different.
See, I always got them confused.
Good to clarify.
And
no, Alice is a series that she started writing them in the 80s, and then the last one came out I think when I was either in college or just graduated from it. And it followed a young girl from it 7th grade until the last book took her through the rest of her life. They're great. They're not relevant to this conversation except for she lived in Silver Spring, and I had a very different idea of what Silver Spring was like before I moved to the DC metro area of those books. But so anyway, I was super into Meg Rabbit, adored her. I was like, oh my God, she's coming. We have to go. I took my whole stack of books. I was like, oh, cool. Every boy's got one. I can't wait to see what this book is about. What a fun read for 15-year-old me. And I got it. I was like, oh, this is for grown-ups. And every boy's got one. Meg Rabbit's Chick Lit, which I deeply, deeply adore still, is pretty low steam level. It's a lot of fade to black. In some of them are a little bit steamier, but that one's pretty fade to black. But I was still this is a grown-up book. But I love what this that was part of her epistolary series, which are delightful. So I've read all of her adult books after that. I just devoured all of her mid 2000s sort of chick lit books that were coming out. Sarah Cramen mentioned the Ghost Medium YA romance series. Yes, Mediator.
Sarah. Oh my God. I love that. That's the first Meg Rabbit I ever read, and I was immediately, oh my God. So, okay, I'm sorry. I'm so glad somebody brought that up.
They're perfect.
Do I lose my came of age in the 2000s card if I say I've never read any Meg Rabbit?
No, because you hated everything feminine.
That's true. I did. I had a lot of internalized misogyny that I've had.
That's a separate issue.
As evidenced by this pink flamingo shirt that I'm wearing.
I love that shirt. You do also have a skeleton hanging behind you, so I feel like we're all the same multitudes.
That's true.
So I read Meg Rabbit, but didn't think of myself as a romance reader. That was chick lit. It was a different thing. But then what Speed sort of got me into more romance, and the first romance novel I read, although they really all were, besides of course France in My Heart, the book that Meg Rabbit asked me at Thermopolis, which was also a romance novel, was Chanel Clayton's Flying Aces series. I read those and I was just like, oh my god, I'm obsessed with these. They're such a good series, y'all. Chanel Cleaton is one of my favorite writers writing today. She's writing more like historical women's fiction romance crossover now. But she came out of romance before that, and like her Flying Aces series are just like absolutely perfect. And after that, I was like, this is my forever. Let's make a romance section.
Is that her new t-shirt? Is the this is my forever?
This is my forever. Let's make a romance section. 1 more page books.
Basically. Yeah, also shout out to Sassy Cats, who is joining us on YouTube, who says that they received a gift card for her or for their birthday to 1 more page, and they're looking forward to using it for recommendations. So
if you're looking for contemporary romance women's fiction, like anything Chanel Cleaton is perfect. She really hits that crossover nicely. Her more romance fiction is more historical. It's like dual timelines for the most part, but like that Flying Aces series, oh my god, it's so good. They're just a little bit angsty, but mostly they're perfect, and the characters have the best chemistry. Like it's still kind of unmatched for me in terms of like a romance these days. It's
that actually brings me into my first recommendation for this video, Happy Hour Roundtable, which is You Had Me at Ola by Alexis Daria.
Yay!
Which, first of all, this cover, y'all, is so good. It's astounding how good it is. I like want a poster of this in my home. But You Had Me at Ola is a contemporary romance between an English language soap opera star, but she is Puerto Rican descent, but she grew up in New York, and she's a soap opera star in the English language soaps, and she gets cast in this sort of Netflix level of remake of a telenovela, sort of like Jane the Virgin, like production. And there's romantic with the romantic lead of the show, and they cast Ashton Suarez, who is a telenovela star
and very handsome,
and of course, based on the cover. Very handsome. And of course, their first impression does not go as planned. He spills a bunch of cold brew on her very nice outfit on the first read. And it sort of goes from there, but it's so fresh and fun, and it's very romantic and very, very sexy. It's delightful. I read it in a day, and the one thing that I love about this is that they communicate with each other.
I can't get it out of here. I won't. Communication?
What is that like? Yeah. And Alexis Daria has clearly done her research, and there's something in here that I think is a very niche reference, but she has this whole plot around the intimacy choreographers for this show that they're doing.
Love that.
Which is a very new thing that has come up in theater specifically, but has moved into film about choreographing very, very carefully sex scenes and romance scenes in theater and television. And it's all about like communication and making sure all of the actors are safe and in a safe environment. And having done intimacy work on stage, like what Alexis Daria says in this book is really real to true to life. And I just was so happy that she had done that and included that. So
I'm also just very impressed with like the timeline of that, because like Spees and I both do theater work as well, and like thinking back to like when I first started hearing about intimacy work was what, like 2 or 3 years ago maybe, and like until like Entertainment Weekly and stuff did a couple articles in the last year maybe. Top-notch research.
Yeah, so I highly, highly, highly recommend this. It's perfect for summer. It's perfect for, you know, sitting outside on your porch with a margarita or a daiquiri, like Amanda.
A daiquiri and a tropical robe. I am dressed for our like summer-themed books that a few of us here today.
It's so good. So I highly, highly recommend this. You Had Me at Ola by Alexis Daria.
Yay. Okay, let's go ahead to the next question.
Yes.
Okay, so what are your favorite romance tropes?
Mine, I'm going to say mine first because it fits in perfectly with Sarah mentioning one of the Meg Rabbit series. But I love a star-crossed lover trope. I
do love a
I
star-crossed
think
lover.
my like recently learned that about myself, and I'm just like looking back, like it seems like I'm really into this. They can't be together, but they love each other. So the Mediator series was, I think, among the first books that I read. That is obviously an adult novel, but yeah, you know, he's a ghost and she's a mediator who talks to ghosts, but
and is also supposed to send them to the other side. That's like her purpose, is to like make ghosts move on, but she doesn't want to move on because she loves him.
Yeah.
Oh my god, these books are so good. Should this just be a Meg Rabbit appreciation happy hour?
Yeah. And then I'll quickly segue into Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which of course reinforced the paranormal. So it definitely led me down a path of like paranormal and fantasy, because those are it's such a common trope in that genre, I think.
I think this is the first time Spees knew that the Mediator series was about a ghost and a mediator.
I think so. I'm really happy for her to have this part of the journey. He's such a hot ghost, Spees.
He's such a hot ghost.
I do love a hot ghost.
He was he's a hotter ghost than that stupid Hallmark movie they watched, The Spirit of Christmas.
Okay, he was still pretty hot though.
He was hot, but Jesse has a
historically accurate
haircut.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is nice. We all watched a few years ago a Hallmark movie called The Spirit of Christmas, which was about a ghost. And
should I watch that now in August? That's a great idea.
Probably. We'll do that for our next socially distant movie night.
You follow your heart.
Yeah. So this is better.
Joan C actually has done my favorite trope, which is fake scenario.
Love that.
Very much into that. Yeah. Fake dating, very much into it. I'm also very into enemies to lovers.
Yes. I love enemies to lovers, but I want them to be like misunderstanding to lovers. That's my preference. Is like not like you did a genocide and I love you now. I want like we are both two strong personalities who like didn't click to lovers.
Yeah.
That's like my sweet spot.
I mean, I'm not.
No, I know you're not Rayloing over here.
I'm certainly not. I would rather.
No one has ever accused Spees of Rayloing.
No one ever would.
That's the romance hill I'm dying on. I know a lot of people love it. I am not one of those people.
I love all the AUs of Raylo. Raylo, for those of you who are less aware, are Kylo Ren and Rey from Star Wars being lovers. I don't want people to feel excluded by our in-fandom talk. They should know what it is.
We, as a society of people who've seen Star Wars, encourage that mentality.
I can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
I encourage us moving on from this topic.
Well, I can recommend, one of my recommendations is an excellent fake dating that I want to talk about. It matches my outfit today. It's Island Affair.
Love it.
Priscilla Oliveras, and it is so good, y'all. So I wrote this one last week. Something like that. This is probably my most recent romance read, actually. But I love it. So let me lay you down with sort of the basics of this. You've got Sarah. She's a social media influencer. She's not obnoxious about it. It just seems cool when she does it. She's like very humble, but also very proud of herself for accomplishing what she's accomplished, which is super cool. And she shows up in Key West for this big like family reunion. Her mom has just been declared cancer-free, and they gathered the whole family together for a week to relax and unwind in Key West, which is not something your family does very much because her family are like all very hot, high-stress type A doctors except for her, and she's never really fit in with the family because of that. To prove that she's like a serious person now, she tried to bring her boyfriend, and then he doesn't show up because he sucks. He's just like, I can't. But, you know, is at the airport and sees her in distress? Hot Key West firefighter Lewis. Lewis has just been given a unrequested week off of work because he reacted badly to a car accident that he was called to based on some trauma in his past that we find out about over the course of the novel. And they're told his brother, who is a firefighter with him, is just like, listen, shake it up. Do something weird for a week. Like, you can't do this. You need to be elsewhere. You know what's weird? Entering a fake relationship with a social media influencer. to trick her family into believing that she's a stable person when they never believed it before. It's so good. First of all, it's set in Key West, and Priscilla has lived in the Keys. It's very true to life. I grew up in Miami, spent a lot of time down there. It felt so much like, it just felt like I was going home again. It's very tropical and like relaxing, which is so nice right now when a lot of us can't go to the beach but wish we could. Like they're just like biking around and watching the sunset and eating conch fritters and like living their best life. And also like keeping this giant secret from her family, which is that he is not her actual boyfriend who he's pretending to be. While also like trying to keep the fact that he's doing this a secret from his very involved Cuban family, who like wants to know everything about his life and are very worried about him all the time because of said secret trauma from his past that has estranged him from his younger brother. And his mother is very unhappy about the estrangement. And the thing about this is that the two of them just have such good chemistry. They bring out the best in each other. Like she also has some secret trauma. It's not super secret. She's recovering from an eating disorder. So if you've got any issues with that or with like car accident, something like that, not the book for you. But it's handled really respectfully, and the two of them actually like bring out the best in each other and are just delightful along the way. So Island Affair, we still have a few signed copies at the store. So if you ordered from us, the first like 2 or 3, I think, something like that, are what the signed copies we have left, because we did an event with Priscilla sort of near the beginning of all of this. But it's great. And look at the cover. It's just like, it makes you happy.
Now,
and
Sarah,
it's a series about about Lewis's family. His brother and his sister desperately need love too. It's very clear.
Sarah Crayman has an excellent question. Is it Sarah no H or Sarah with an H?
Very good.
Sarah no H.
Ooh.
Because she's a social media influencer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that tracks, my friend, but it's okay. Let's move on.
I know, so I'm sorry to Sarah for that. But if you enjoy some secret trauma, that is very good.
Should I do my fake dating one now?
Yes, I think so.
Just because we know while we're on the subject.
Yeah.
This is also the romance book club pick for September. Boyfriend material. We also have some left of the like cool activity. They did like a activity rom-com guide thing with like mazes and stuff from Source Books. Thanks, Source Books. We still have some of those left. Anyway, it's a very funny British witty story about a guy who basically needs to clean up his image. So he's like the, forgotten son of a rock star. So he's like in the tabloids all the time, but really just trying to live his life. And they're like, oh, he got drunk again and had sex in an alleyway with somebody and blah, blah, blah. So he's like, okay, to get like my job and my footing, I need to look presentable. So he gets this like presentable fake boyfriend, who is, of course, like a type A, like lawyer who wears suits and says things like verisimilitude. And of course, predictably, they are adorable, hilarious together. But, like classic Odd Couple. Also, we're just fake dating. Remember, it's all fake. Lol, lol, lol. And you're like, oh my God, you love each other. Yes. The writing is so good. I read the first like 100 pages in the physical book, and then I got the audiobook on Libro FM, and it's really, really well performed. I highly recommend either one, the physical book or the audio.
Amazing. Sarah came in and saying that boyfriend material give her big David Patrick energy. Which
yes,
I love.
exactly. I was like, oh my God, the vibe is for sure there.
Yes. Julia Linthicum, our dear friend, mentioned that Second Chance is their fave. So can I mention other recommendations?
Love it. Love Second Chance. Thanks, Julia. Yes, absolutely.
Tell Malia I said hi, Rebecca. Okay, well,
she's gone.
But we don't seem to have lost the feed, which is important. So if you like Second Chance romance, this book I read a couple of months ago, I guess. It came out in April, and it is delightful. It's To Happen to Hoax by Martha Waters. Now, I'm not going to lie to y'all. When I saw this sitting on our shelf at first, I definitely thought it was To Happen to Hex, and I thought it was about witches. And so I didn't read it right away because I was like, unclear if I want this. It is not. It is not paranormal. It's just historical, and it's great for it. So I'm going to read you the first part of the tagline because I think it sums it up better than I possibly could. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Great. 5 years ago, Lady Violet Grey and Lord James Audley met, fell in love, got married. 4 years ago, they had a fight to end all fights and have barely spoken since. Yeah.
Where's the hexing? Just kidding.
So, Violet and Audley were the super passionate love affair. They had like a real whirlwind romance. This is Regency, by the way. So whirlwind. And then they have this tremendous fight. You don't find out until partially through the book what the fight is about. It's like hinted at. It's very like, I'm like, I gotta find out what it is. And they just like don't talk anymore. They don't act as husband as wife. You know, they're still married because it's Regency, but they don't interact in any way. Until one day Violet gets a letter from Audley's friend who was like, Audley fell off his horse. He's not in good shape. You got to get here. And then she's like, oh my God, my husband rushes to his side and she gets there and he's totally fine. And she's like, this is garbage. I'm going to make him regret that he ever did this to me. And she begins a journey of embarking on an elaborate fake illness to make him feel terrible. Now, he quickly realizes what's going on. And so he begins to embark on an elaborate scheme to make her think that he thinks that her fake illness is real. It's like if The Parent Trap had like 6 more layers to it and was a romance.
That sounds amazing.
But like within that, they have such explosive chemistry that they have just repressed for 4 years because they haven't talked. And now that they're interacting in any way, it just like the tension between the two of them is bursting to the surface. And like, you know, the meme with Ben Wyatt where it's like, it's about the yearning.
I am familiar with that meme.
It's about the yearning. Like, there are a couple scenes in here that I was just like, oh my goodness gracious, because two of them like love each other so much underneath all of this hatred that they pretend that they have for each other, which they don't, but they're both so proud that they like can't just be the first one to be like, this was a stupid fight that we had. We should be in love again because we've been in love this whole time. And it is just like absolutely delicious.
It's like the hand clench gif.
Oh, it is hand clench for days. It is hand clench, but other things are clenching too in this book.
Ooh.
Other things are clenching too.
It's very good. And it's a
romance roundtable.
Put it on the t-shirt. And it sets up really well for the sequel because near the end of it, like her best friend and his best friend, he's like, I'll never find love. And she's like, I bet I can find you a marriage within a year or else. And he's like, fine, do it. So obviously they're going to fall in love. And I can't wait to read about it. Martha Waters is great. And everyone should read To Have and to Hoax.
Amazing. Sally Poston has a question for us. That is, do we all get nostalgic urges to read romances set in places you know, like Amanda with Florida, since it's such an emotional and a distinctive genre?
I want to say, Sally, you probably know about this.
And I don't
probably talked about it
know.
before. Oh, sorry. Go on, Speeds. I didn't realize you had started. No,
go for it.
I read the Betsy Casey books. They're not romance. They're just next to me, and they're set in Minnesota, and they are my favorite nostalgia read. This is the first 4 books where they're little girls, but they go up through when the main character is married, and they're fabulous. I'm sure we've talked about it, but just like, if you want Minnesota nostalgia, it is such a sweet spot for me. I adore them. I did a reading from one of them at my wedding. Speed, take it away.
I mean, it's funny. So I'm from North Carolina originally, and I do get those nostalgic urges to read things set in familiar places. But I have a hard time with it in romance. All of the Southern romances are not the kind of South that I grew up in. So it's either like, you know, like there's the Bridesmaid series that Cindy Madsen wrote, which is really lovely and wonderful, but I can read that and enjoy it as a romance, sort of scratching that Southern itch. Like, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. So if anybody has any like slightly gritty South romances that aren't like Magnolias and Deb Balls, I would very much like that recommendation.
Yeah, I feel like I do this, but not as much with romance. Like, because I think it's partially what you said. Like, and I do like I didn't necessarily seek out a Floridian romance. I was very excited when I found one, because I like got the benefits of being a tropical holiday romance while also being like, I know this tropical holiday, which was fun. But so often romance like gives you the best and idealized version of a place, and that's not necessarily what any of our experiences were like living in those places. So I'd almost rather go to like an exotic locale or a place that I didn't know, or a generic small town that I've never lived in. And I'm also like, I look for my romance for the characters. The setting is very, for the most part, second chance for me, or second place for me.
I think, I mean, to be fair, I also live where I grew up, so I don't have that.
Yeah, you are here. We're all here in it.
But I think the only thing I ever feel is occasional, like you said, another place like that I know but don't live, like wanting to go, like read something that's in Greece or Rome or something where I've been and love that place. So I don't think I ever. I'm like trying to think of ones. The only thing I think of is Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants for Greece, though. So, which to be fair, I do want to reread, but.
It's YA, but I did just read Love and Olives, the Jenna Evans Welch that comes out in November, and that was set in Greece, and that was fun. That was Santorini, and that like felt like, I think the same. Like I will read books set in like places I've like Love and Olives, like it was set in Santorini. My husband and I went on our honeymoon there, and like that was really fun to like revisit that. But like I want to read about those vacation places, or like books set in Italy or books set in London, which like I lived in for a while, a long time ago, and loved. So yeah, it's an interesting question though. I like the idea of finding that sort of, and I like what sounds too, like she is from Minnesota and looking for like non-Christmas winter romances. That's almost more like the feel of Minnesota than specifically Minnesota.
Yeah, that's true.
I love like a Cuban romance because that feels like growing up in Miami, you know.
I have a winter one. Hold on, actually. In my pile.
Yes.
Talk about it.
So it doesn't, I don't think it'll count very much for Sally though, because they start off in Florida. So it's wintertime. It's
so
January,
like Christmas. It's fine.
Yeah, but so it's a road trip romance, and they drive up to Canada. So it does get wintry there. So here we go. But and also the author's name is Winters. Hairpin Curves. Here we go.
Oh, what a great cover.
Elia Winters. It's a great cover. This is
one of the great title also.
It super is. Karina Adores is the new LGBTQ plus imprint from Karina. This is the first one of theirs that I'd read. But they've got a lot. They have like 3 or 4 that have come out in the past 2 or 3 months. And they've got plenty of more coming out. So keep an eye on those. So it's not, I thought it was going to be like enemies to lovers. So it's not. It's like estranged high school best friends who had a falling out and then are sort of cautiously approaching each other about trying to get to their third friend that they're both still friends with, who's getting, married suddenly in Canada, and they can't afford to fly. So they're like, should we drive there together and
fall in love
and maybe fall in love along the way? So I think the characters they're interesting, very interesting. Like one of them, I think you warm up to immediately, and the other you're kind of like still a little on the fence about until partway through. And then once they like hit the road, you're like in it, and they're just like talking and getting to know each other again, and realizing like what happened with their friendship, and realizing that one of them at least thought the other was straight, and then finds out she's not. And then she's like, oh, interesting. And so the author is actually, the author reviews sex toys, and she's like a sex educator, and she's a kink positive advocate. So it does like, there's toys, they go to a sex shop. So it's very like, it's interesting the ways that she introduces sex to the story without them necessarily getting together early on. So yeah, I love that. Joan, I thought of you with this one. Highly recommend for Joan.
Yes, as soon as Leah mentions to read this, I'm like, oh my god, Joan needs to read it. I wanted to address quickly one of the questions. Sassy Cats wanted to know if anyone has read Hate Crush, and if you need to read the first book in the series to make sense of it. Leah, have you read? So we love Angelina. She was a local author for us. Leah, I know you've read Lush Money. Have you read Hate Crush yet?
No, not yet. I've heard a lot of people have said that it's even better than Lush Money. I don't believe, from what Angelina has said, I don't think you need to have read Lush Money to get Hate Crush. I think there's probably some of the like political stuff in terms of the kingdom that you would, I'm sure she writes it in a way that you have enough knowledge to understand basically like the players and what else happening. But it is a completely different couple, and I don't think it would hurt you to jump in at that.
That was my understanding as well.
Yeah.
That was the case. Awesome. Sally, if you're looking for cozy winter feelings, I haven't read it yet, but we do have 8 Kisses available, which is a Hanukkah themed anthology. So specifically not Christmas. So non-religious, that's obviously not hitting the same note, but if you look like for winter stuff that isn't Christmas, 8 Kisses, a Hanukkah anthology. It's on our website. I mean, we'll add it to the links there as well, eventually. Let's see. Let me see what our next one is, and if I like Sarah's question better, we'll do hers instead. So let's do Sarah's quickly because I do like what she asked. Keep popping on the screens, please. Mm-hmm. So, what are some of your pet peeves in romance?
Ooh, that's a great question.
People be bad at knitting.
I will say I like a single POV, and I think it's because I sort of came out of like that sort of chick lit genre era more, where you did get a lot of more that like just the girls point of view, and also read a ton of YA, which is a lot more of that single POV. So that one doesn't bother me. Not a lot of knitting issues yet. I hate an overly alpha hero. That's like less of a pet, even more just a thing I don't like. But like heroes that are super alpha to the point that like they're like not actually being, in my opinion, good for the heroine. That's a mix for me. I want an equal. I want them both to be alpha, or he's beta. It's one of those two.
No, go ahead, Lils. I'm still percolating.
It's I wouldn't call single POV a pet peeve, but I think I've noticed in the past, within recent memory, that I like a book more when you do get to see both people's points of view. I'll still read a single POV, but I think it becomes apparent to me that like, oh, I think I would appreciate the story more if I could have the other point of view too. I will say I think my pet peeve is age difference. Like, I think anything that's like 10 plus, I'm just like, to be fair, I don't feel that way in couples where it's, same gender. So maybe it's just a power dynamic with men thing.
Yeah, reasonable.
There's a few scenarios that I am particularly peeved about, where it's a power dynamics thing, where I'm like, the student teacher thing, unless it and obviously unless it's done really well, like I don't particularly go for that. Structure, like character wise and like structurally, I have a really big pet peeve when like the like they fall in love too quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, and not like in a timeline sense, because like a lot of these books take place over like the course of a month or whatever, like especially historicals, and like, that's fine. It's the like
they're doing something. They're all about to die of cholera. They got to fall in love.
They shouldn't be falling in love by page 50. Like at that point, I'm like, if it happens too quickly, it makes it less believable to me. Heroes who are baffled by things that women do, like that are normal things. Like, she's going walking outside.
Sometimes you can pull that off in like an adorable historical way.
That's my point.
But only if they like are then like, I'm amazed. You're so powerful. Women, who knew? Then I'm like into it. I did remember another one, and this is like a bigger thing. When a book is advertised as a rom-com and ends up being like super soapy, I don't mind a real like soapy, like high emotions, some gentle tragedy laden book. I want to know from the marketing. So if I'm like, this isn't funny and they're so sad, what's happening? Why is this pregnancy saving the day? Like, I'm like, nah. Yeah. Get me out of there. Okay, so let's pop back into some questions here. My phone screen keeps locking. So do you have an all-time fave?
I'd say I stan Angelina Lopez.
That's a really difficult question.
She's as a person and an author, I think, especially because she works so hard. Like she spent so many years writing before she got published. So I really feel like of all debuts, hers is so strong. Lush Money is so good, and she's just such a wonderful supporter of the romance community in general, and also independent bookstores. So
Angelina's a perfection.
And her mom is so great too. Both her
mom is great. Guys, buy Angelina Lopez's books to support her mom, if nothing else.
Makes Celeste proud.
Yeah. I think I probably would say Fly With Me, but like, I just can't. It's just the dynamic between that couple is just absolute perfection, and everyone should read it. It's such a well done study of chemistry, and the whole series is great, but the first one is just like perfect.
I mean, I love Sarah McLean. Like, her Bare Knuckle Bastard series is probably my favorite historicals that are happening right now. Contemporary, I would probably say The Right Swipe by Alicia Rye.
Very good.
Yeah, I think that Alicia Rye is a great example of an author who has done really well in like the mass market romances, which I think Lelia will talk about in a minute. And moving into the sort of trade paperback rom-com-ish market, but The Right Swipe is so smart and so open-hearted and really like lets both of her characters be themselves and like deal with their stuff and also have this really wonderful romance that, you know, enhances them both. And I think it was really well done and I really love it.
Yes, obsessed. If we get to pick a second, like mass market versus trade paperback, I'll put my favorite as Well Met by Jen DeLuca, which is like one of the greatest power dynamics I've read in a book. I absolutely adore it. I think most people have Well Met at this point. It's done super well, and it's amazing. And Jen's fabulous. Sassy Cats mentions that they love Love Lettering, Bringing Down the Duke, Beach Read, and the Nina Hill. Great choices. Bringing Down the Duke and Beach Read particularly, I'm just obsessed with. I am so excited for the next book in the Bringing Down the Duke series this fall. It's gonna be so good. I think I convinced Berkeley to send me a copy early, and I'm very, very excited about it. I'll pass it around. And then I'll just like take screaming selfies for Instagram. I think that's my like legal obligation when they send you a book for review. Just scream on Instagram. Speaking of mass market Alicia Rye, though, Lelia, do you want to mention a little something? Oh,
guys, I've talked about this one before, and I will never stop talking about it because it's so good. Oh, hi, Jenny. Thank you
Jenny
for coming
returns.
for me to talk about this book, Jenny.
Jenny says she also loves the book Lelia is about to talk about. She loves to scratch at it and also sniff sometimes.
To paw the pages until they flip.
Yes.
So yes, Alicia Rye's mass market series, Hate to Want You, is the first book in the series, and it is so good. Talk about not necessarily star-crossed, but like we can't be together as a whole vibe. And it is also a second chance romance in a way. I'm like Julia, also a fan of that because I like that the characters they get to know each other before, so it's not as surprising when they fall in love 30 pages in. It's more like you were in love the whole time and you just didn't talk about it.
I love that.
Which is funny because I was like, oh yeah, I love when characters communicate. And then I'm like, also I love this book where they just pretend they hate each other for the whole book, except they still have sex once a year. Anyway, would recommend that as well. But
I
also,
would argue that to have sex once a year in that way, you're communicating pretty well.
There's family drama that makes it harder for them. They can't be in a relationship, and also like they still have a lot of baggage about how they broke up. And she's a tattoo artist, and she in her point of view, you get to see she talks about her dealing with depression and stuff. So I think Alicia Rye presents that in a really a way that sort of helps destigmatize depression. If that's something you don't want to read about, obviously I would skip this book. The hero is also just so great and so angsty, and so many things come up about what he hasn't done with other people since her that you're just like, oh my God, what? Anyway, it's so good. It's so good. I love Alicia Rye. I also listen to that one on audio, and I would highly recommend that. It's also on Libra FM. It's very well read, well performed.
Lelia, is your favorite trope just people having sex at appointed times?
Less sex deal?
Because it's also less money. That's what that is.
It's also much money. You're right. I do love that trope because it combines two of my favorite things: logistics and sex. It works so well.
That's the t-shirt. There
That
it
is
is.
the t-shirt.
Tuesday at 7 p.m. I'll pencil you in. And like, I'll pencil you in. Like, but we hate each other though.
Yeah.
No.
Oh yeah. We
I'm
hate,
gonna
we
put
hate
it in
this.
my calendar.
Did you get my Google Calendar invite to our sex?
It's like all the
No, but
fanfics that used to be like. Do you guys ever read like the fanfics where they're like the one character has to teach the other character like how to be a lover?
I mean,
Yes.
I think I've read romance novels.
Also,
like
the
that.
kiss quotient, so good.
Yeah, same basic principle.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Good call.
So let's hop ahead to the next question. I'm going to skip over my favorite.
Christina Williams. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm a little laggy, but that's okay.
No, I don't know anything about Alicia Rye's Serving Pleasure series. Lilia, do you have any special knowledge?
I have not read it yet, but I would like to. It is
So-
on
I
my
think
it's
very
one
long
of-
list.
I think it's one of those things where she has a bunch of like contracted books traditionally with Avon, and so it's sort of like on the back burner for it's like one day when I have time, etc.
Right.
Oh my God, sorry. I just saw this comment come in from Sassy Cats who says that Susanna Kearsley is one of her favorite authors, which I would also agree with. I love Susanna. I've met Susanna a few times. Random funny story about Susanna Kearsley is that she is really good friends with my aunt because my grandmother was a romance novelist in the 50s and 60s, and Susanna read my grandma's books and was writing about them, and my aunt reached out to be like, hey, I'm Jan's daughter, and then they like became pen pals, and it is adorable, and Susanna's so nice and delightful.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Also, please enjoy that Jenny has just settled in the background, ready to pounce and acting very uninterested. This desk is her favorite place to spend the day. This is where my husband works during the day, and she spends all day trying to sneak onto the desk when he's not watching. He's always watching. It's very ineffective.
Bless. Should we move on to some more recommendations or questions?
I want to do one more question because I really liked it.
Okay.
So if you guys could live in the setting of any romance novel, what would it be? So not necessarily your favorite, because a lot of these are like Regency or high stakes, where like they don't have vaccines, and we want to be careful. But like if you could live, but if you want to live Regency, take your chance. No blame here. You do what you got to do. If you could live in any romance novel, what would it be? And I'm curious if people want to turn off in the comments too, their thoughts on that.
Oh man.
I can start if you guys need time to think.
Yes, you start.
Yeah.
Okay, I would go with Well Met, Jen DeLuca's book, because I love the Ren Fair setting that she created. It is absolutely delightful. It's set in this like smaller town that puts on this amazing Ren Fair. There's a great bookstore there, so I'd still have a job, which is important to me. And I could work at the Ren Fair and like volunteer at the Ren Fair every year. And I would steal Simon before anyone else got to him. Like before this book started, it had to be a different book, because Simon would not be available. They'd be like, and look at that man whose name might be Simon, walking very happily with the tall woman who's holding very to his arm. He looks hot at her desk, but I'm not going to comment on it because he is clearly her possession.
Amazing.
I mean, so I think like historically wise, I look great in 18th century costumery.
Sure.
So like fashion wise and that I would go with one of the earlier historical romances, but obviously not the political situation.
Sure.
Contemporary though, Sally Poston makes an excellent point. It's like, can I live in the political world of red, white, and royal blue?
Accurate.
Yeah.
I
Highly
like to assume that world is accurate for any other contemporary romance novels.
Yeah, I'm into that.
Just happening in the background of like beach read. And so that's what politics, because good things are happening.
Yeah. I think I would actually say you had me at Ola, because all of the like fake Netflix shows that Alexis Daria came up with for all of her characters to like be in sound amazing.
Like you said, you wouldn't like go outside.
I want to watch all of those shows.
Also, Sarah Cramen says that you're really into Regency romance or Regency fashion. Sarah, you look amazing in Regency. Sarah's a fellow bookseller of ours, by the way, and she's amazing. And she would look great.
She would, and it's a rare thing. because I look awful in Regency outfits.
Yeah,
I
it is
look
not
like
good for my hips.
It's not great for my hips.
Christina Williams says that they would love to live on the Three Sisters Island in Nora Roberts' universe.
I'm glad someone talked about Nora Roberts.
You're a big Nora Roberts girl.
I love. She was going to be. I was going to go if I got a second top favorite. It would be Nora. All hail the queen. She's. That is one of the best Nora series.
Well, then what's your top pick, Wheels?
For where I want to live.
Yeah.
Okay, so aside from I've talked a lot about Angelina Lopez, so I'm not going to say Lush Money, even though it's a beautiful Spanish vineyard.
Yeah, totally live there. That's fine.
Yeah. A micro.
But can I say a graphic novel if it's like a romance graphic novel, but it's also sci-fi? It's got a lot of genres. Open Earth by there's 3 authors. Hold on, I need to read them. Sarah with no H, Merck, Eva Cabrera, and Claudia Aguirre. And it's like, I mean, on the one hand, I would hate to live in space because the idea of there not being oxygen on the other side of a piece of glass.
You don't like that. You don't care for that.
But everyone there is like, it's like this wonderful progressive culture of like polyamory and, just like fluid, everything. They're just, some people are friends with other people, but they're still having sex with them, but they have one partner who it's really like, you can tell that just like the vibe there is very just free, no labels, no.
Sounds relaxing.
Yeah, the way that it's written is really cool, and the art is gorgeous. So, other than the oxygen, again, would recommend living there.
Yeah, I would also add when I read A Sweet Mess recently, a lot of it takes place in this like Tuscan style villa in a California vineyard. I would give an arm and a leg to just be in the pool there all the time. I don't necessarily want to interact with like the world of it because it seems a little stressful. But I would just like to live in that particular house.
Good call.
Yeah, a lot of good suggestions popping up in the comments. Sassy Cats makes a very good point that it'd be hard to choose any of these worlds unless you were the heroine.
That's true.
And Dana would love to hang out at the women's bar in Alexa Martin's football series. Also, a choice.
Oh my God, I just realized I can see the comments. Wow.
Were you on the private chat tab this whole time?
I was like, why are you seeing it? You guys have such amazing things to say. Thank you, everyone. I love the women's bar in Alexa Martin's series. Okay, sorry.
No, that's totally fine. Do you want to hit with some final recommendations? And then other things coming up?
Yeah, I've got 2 more recommendations that I can go through really quickly. How many more titles do we have?
I have 1 more.
Okay. How about you, Lil?
I hit all mine.
Okay,
so why don't you do 1, I do 1, you do 1.
Great. Perfect. So my first, go team. My first of the final 2 that I have to recommend is The Rakess by Scarlett Peckham. I almost said Peckman. That's wrong. The Rakess by Scarlett Peckham.
That would be a great name.
It would. First of all, God, the cover is so retro, but also so modern.
I love a good retro cover. I want people to know I'm reading a romance because I'm not ashamed of it.
Yeah. So The Rakess is let me get my notes. This is a more dark and stormy kind of romance novel. So, Scarlett actually included a content warning in the book, which I think that every author should do, romance or not. Because I think that's a really wonderful thing to do. So this one's like, it's very angsty, it's very emotional, but it's also very sexy and very romantic, and ultimately, obviously, has a very satisfying happily ever after. And it is ostensibly about a female rake. So there's the trope of, the dissolute wine women in song kind of characters with tragic backstories. And Scarlett Peckham takes this and turns it on its head a little bit. And, it's ostensibly about this female rake, but it's really a deconstruction of why women aren't really allowed to be rakes by society.
Yes, please.
And it's so good. It's so heartbreaking, but also very empowering. And it is banana sexy. And I really, really recommend it. The main character, Serafina, is this ruined woman who kind of took on this mantle of scandal and is about to drop. She's about to name names for the dude who ruined her in this kind of tell-all memoir. And until she realizes that this very handsome, charming Scottish widower architect that she has kind of fallen for, his livelihood might depend on that person.
Oh my god, of course he's an architect.
I know, right? It's so delightful.
Even historically, you can't get away from it.
It's so wonderful. But it has like shades of Mary Wollstonecraft, and it's very like kind of gothic-y also, and it's just so good. It's so good. It's so good. Please read it and talk to me about it. The Rakettes by Scarlett Peckham.
Okay, so the last one I brought to the table today is it's the latest book in my absolute favorite series of all times. It is Haunted Heroine by Sarah Kuhn. So the Heroine Complex series has been going on for a little bit. This is the 4th book in the series. I'm obsessed with them. I saw them for the first time. I saw the 2nd book in a science fiction shop in Sweden. And I was like, I need to buy this. This looks amazing. I'll buy the first book back home. I'm just gonna take this one, and it's great. So the series, it's like supernatural, paranormal is like not quite the right word, but it's like paranormal fantasy, superhero-y esque. So it takes place in like alt universe San Francisco, where a few years ago this like rift opened up in the ground, and demon energy kind of came out, and also gave several people superpowers, like as you do. So the series mostly follows Evie Tanaka and Avita Jupiter. Avita and Evie were best friends growing up, and Avita, which is her superhero name, gets these super cool powers, and Evie becomes her assistant. And the first book is like Evie's story of her like finding herself. The 2nd book is like Avita realizing that she's been a bad friend and like growing as a person. And the 3rd book is about Evie's little sister. And so this book is about Evie again, which is interesting. It's like kind of romance adjacent because in the 1st book she like finds her happily ever after and like gets married and stuff. And this book kind of deals with some of the consequences of the trauma she's been pushing down that whole time. We still keep it in romance at the store. Like it still has the arc of her like refinding her love because she and her husband have kind of drifted apart. She's pregnant and he's extremely worried about her, like to the point of sort of shutting her down as a relationship and becoming just like, I must protect you at all times. He's a scientist, and like becomes very clinical about it. And she just feels smothered and disconnected from him, and gets an assignment. They're still sort of like she's become a superhero in her own right now. She and Avita work together to go on jobs and like deal with demon activity throughout the city. And the school where Evie was getting a master's degree and then dropped out due to mysterious circumstances is having ghost issues. So she goes back to sort of the place where her life kind of fell apart for her and reckons with the life that could have been, and she made different choices along the way. It's a really good character study of like how we deal with trauma and how the choices we think define us maybe necessarily define us in bad ways, and how things can work out, and even if they don't, you did the best you could at the time. I adore it. It's like very light spooky. So if you're like, I don't like scary things, like demons sounds kind of weird. They're like very chill demons. It's hilarious. Sarah Kuhn is a fabulous, very funny writer. I adore the whole series. If you haven't read the first one, I would start with the first one, Heroine Complex. But if you have read them and you didn't necessarily know about this one because it kind of ran a little more under the radar than I expected, it's a delight. Yes. And look at that cover. It's very fun.
It's so cute and
very
spooky.
Fun.
Yeah.
Some light spoopiness.
It's casual spookiness.
Yeah. And then finally, my last recommendation. And then we'll answer a couple more questions and then tell you all about our events and then let y'all go because we've talked for a while.
Running over, but we love you guys. And this is
I know,
fun.
right? My last recommendation for tonight is Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert. This is the sequel to Get a Life, Chloe Brown, but you don't need to have read Chloe Brown.
But you should, because it's so good.
You really should, because it's amazing. But this follows Chloe's younger sister, Danica, who is a very fierce, career-driven academic who she doesn't believe in relationships. She's been there, done that, burned the t-shirt, as it says on the back of this book. And so she asks the universe to send her the perfect friends with benefits guy. Give me that fling that I need to get it out of my system, and then we're gonna keep being this kick-ass scholar. And so the universe sends her Zafir Ansari, who is a big, brooding security guard at her building, who was also an ex-rugby player. And if you haven't looked at rugby players lately, you really
It'll help you through the pandemic. It really will.
You really should just look at him. And he listens. He's a big romantic, and he really believes in relationships. And he listens to romance audiobooks while he's at work, which is so delightful. But they're kind of thrown together in this fire drill gone wrong, and a video gets taken of them with this insane chemistry that they have. And so everyone suddenly thinks that they're together.
Yes.
And, so it's sort of fake dating. It's sort of like not enemies to lovers, but like that
confusion to lovers.
Yeah, that relationship of like there is inherent conflict by just how they both approach romance and sex. And this is another one where they like talk to each other and they talk through their stuff and they like have misunderstandings, but then they're also like, maybe I wasn't thinking clearly at that moment. And Talia Hibbert is also bananas sexy. Like this is probably on this is into my level of the Steam scale.
Yeah, if you don't know the one more page Steam scale, it's sort of how we define like how spicy a book kind of is. So our is like pretty low level. I'm like medium, so like some fade to black, not necessarily all fade to black, but like I don't mind it. I'm not going to complain if it happens, but I'm not going to complain if other stuff happens. And you kind of go Lelia, which is like Alicia Wright, like pretty sexy, but like we can handle it. And then you hit Rebecca, and Rebecca's like, whoa.
I'll read whatever.
And we all like read across that, but that's sort of how we defined it by like what we tend to gravitate towards.
Yeah. So this is like bridging. Yeah, this is bridging Lelia's into my level of Steam scale, but
Chloe
it's wonderful.
Was like that too. Like Chloe Brown was probably a similar level.
This is I would say more explicit than Chloe Brown.
Yeah, because we didn't actually have that much on page sex because they didn't get it. Sorry, never mind. No spoilers.
Get together,
but yeah, I really recommend it. It's so wonderful. It's so good. Talia Hibbert is such a good writer. Highly, highly recommend. Take a hint, Danny Brown, and get a life, Chloe Brown, if you haven't read that one either.
Do you think that Talia Hibbert wrote this book after she heard that I was injured at a rugby museum while road tripping and listening to Take a Hint, Chloe Brown on an audiobook?
Okay, I don't think I knew that.
Well, because I listened to Chloe Brown when we were in New Zealand.
Oh.
Which is weird because my husband kept falling asleep and then waking up during like very sexy scenes and being like, what is happening? I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to drive on the wrong side of the moon. I can't like skip scenes for your benefit. We're both going to live in this now.
This is our forever.
Yeah, but we also went to the International Rugby Museum while we were down there. We should have stayed in New Zealand. It's a separate discussion, but we should have just stayed there. And they had a like simulator play area where you could like try different things. And one of them was to see how fast you could tackle two people. And I did okay, but I threw my neck out just entirely. And so for like the next week in New Zealand, I like was like up half the night crying because my neck hurt so bad. And so I got an amazing sports massage in Lake Wanaka. Thank you to that masseuse. If somehow you're watching this, you saved me. So it all comes back around. Anyway, should we talk about things we have coming up at the bookstore?
Yeah, good call.
Yeah, good, but important note, just because you can tackle two simulators doesn't mean you should.
Amanda hurting herself in the pursuit of competition, I am shocked.
I've certainly never done that before, and I never will again.
Nope.
I did better than Dustin, though, so was it worth it?
That's what's
hard
important.
To say. I could not move my neck for a week.
Worth it.
So, yes, we've talked about some awesome booksellers, and we've got a couple more romance virtual events coming up for anyone that wants to tune into those. One is August 20th. I didn't write down the time, so I'll be honest, I don't know what time it is, but I'm going to guess 7 p.m.
7 p.m.? They're usually 7 p.m.
So August 20th.
Page in the comments.
Yeah, it's not 7 p.m. So with that's Tracy Livesay and Mia Sosa. I don't have Mia Sosa's book with me because it's at the house that I used to live in that then a pandemic happened. But they're both wonderful, and they're going to be talking. Bikini Allen is moderating their panel. She is. Oh, Jenny's back. Hi, Jenny. I got distracted.
She loves Tracy Livesay, and she wants to hear about her.
Tracy Livesay is also going to be in conversation with Sarah McLean for the Racy Reads event that we are going to be collaborating with Fairfax County Public Library. They're so fantastic. I can't believe that they made this happen. We were like, wouldn't it be cool if Sarah McLean was there? And then
we're like, what if we just did it?
I'm moderating the conversation, and I'm losing my mind.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
That is August 27th.
Yes. It's going to be amazing.
And I think we've got some other, so we'll have signed book plates for both of those. They're not going to sign in person, but they'll be giving us signed book plates for orders that are coming in for those.
Yes. So some of the amazing signed pre-orders we have coming in, we've got some really cool ones. So first of all, you can get signed copies of, or you can get signed book plates for Sarah McLean's latest book, Daring in the Duke. We'll have that in conjunction with our event that the library is doing. Spees dropped in the link into the comments. You can see that there. It's also on our website. Supplies are limited, so if you want those, get in there. In addition to Daring in the Duke, we also are doing the pre-order campaign for Well Played by Jen DeLuca, which I'm so excited about. Jen is amazing. We took her to the Ren Fair for Speeds' bachelorette party last year, and it was the best thing we ever did as a group, probably. I'm so excited for Well Played, and she's doing a super cool pre-order campaign with us. The charms we are out of because we've had a lot of orders for it, but you can still get a signed bookmark with your pre-order of Well Played through Well Page, which comes out on September 22nd. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm going to die. I'm going to drop everything when that comes out and just read it immediately 5 times over. And then we're also doing a pre-order campaign for Her Night with the Duke by Diana Quincy, which comes out September 29th. This one's really fun because it's a delightful historical, but also you're getting a signed edition with tons of swag. An aggressive amount of swag coming for this mass market paperback. I don't know how Diana is possibly making any money off of the amount of swag she's sending out with her $8 book. You probably make money if you buy the book from us with all the swag you're gonna get. There's just some delightful, one of the little it's like a magnet or something. It says following society's rules can be so boring. Accurate. Check it out. It's gonna be really fun. Who doesn't love a good mass market historical? It's what we all need in our lives.
Lils, mute your mic. You're typing.
Dang it. I'm trying to add my book rec into the book list. How do I? You know what? It's fine. I'll do it later. You guys.
We posted the sort of books you mentioned tonight list, but we'll add more of the ones that sort of mentioned off the cuff as well into there. And Spees, to talk about some of the things that we still have up on the site.
Yeah, so we, like I said at the beginning, we've done a bunch of romance events this month for Bookstore Romance Day. We've done an event with Angelina Lopez, who we've mentioned several times for her book Hate Crush. We've also done an event with Eliza Knight for her book The Rebel Wears Plaid, which is a historical Jacobite romance that's just delightful. And just on Tuesday, we did a launch event for El Penelope in conversation with Angelina Lopez for Leslie's third book in the Earthsinger Chronicles series. And it's called Cry of Metal and Bone.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure. But all of those videos are still live. So if you go into the event calendar and click on the event, they're all on our Facebook and YouTube as well. And we still have books for them as well.
Yay.
Yeah. And I will upload, I will add the books that we mentioned off the cuff into our roundtable page that has all of the books that we talked about. Probably right after this call.
I just added mine with my excessive loud typing.
Ooh.
Perfect.
Also, I just want to say that you can also buy this delightfully sparkly llama from One More Page.
Bring it over, please. Bring it over.
Take my headphones up.
I think Lelia named her Betty. She's beautiful.
Leals, Spees, can you drop the link to buy the llama corn into
yes.
the chat? Speeds is going to drop the link to buy the llama in the chat.
I'm not sure it's in the website because it is one of the plush items. But you know what? Just email me and I'll get you one.
You can still be able to search it, right, on the site?
You couldn't make your own llama pillow. Neil had to make a special item for it.
Good point. It's from Ingram.
I know, right?
Anyways, thank you all so much for joining us tonight for our Bookseller Romance Roundtable. We're all on Twitter. You can find us on there or the store Twitter talking about romance or books or whatever you ask us. We're always here. We never leave.
We're just trapped to the internet forever. I hope that you guys all had an amazing time and got some great recommendations. Like Speed said, feel free to reach out to us on social media if you want more or you just want to chat about some of the things we talked about. I know there were comments that we missed because we were talking for way too long already, but we'll happily move the conversation to social media for that.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you all.
So have a great time. Thanks for joining us at One More Page and go out and read some romance.
Woo!
Bye, guys.